Hi there. Welcome back to the Mindset Check podcast. I'm your host, Misha McKittrick. This is a podcast where I believe that as you take time for a mindset check, you have more power than you think you do. And where we also believe that mothers have great power to teach the real meaning of love. I have a really fun announcement. It was on my heart, and so I decided to offer a huge discount for my group coaching course. I'm going to be offering a 50% Black Friday discount, and that is for the next season of the cohort. Okay, so we'll be restarting the group coaching course in January, and I'm offering 50% off for Black Friday only. So if it's been on your heart and it's something that you've been wanting to do, if you have a desire to rewrite negative thinking patterns, if you have a desire to level up in your vibration, or to learn how to choose your feelings, basically how to rewrite your life, honestly, because we go through letting go and resistance and allowing and alignment and integrity, and we dive into the person that you're being and the things that get in the way and the things that we don't know, right? Sometimes we don't know that the way that we're thinking is actually what's creating our life and the way that we're feeling. And we don't understand that there's something that we can actually do about that. So we're going to be diving into all of that. If that is something that is tugging at your heart, then make sure that you take advantage of the 50% off for Black Friday. And you can just DM me on Instagram, and then I'll send you the link so that you can get all signed up. So my Instagram is my friend Misha. It's my friend Mesha. So just reach out to me and I'll make sure that you get the link so that you can get all registered and signed up. We're going to be starting at the end of January. It's an 8-week course, and I'm highly considering adding another week. We'll see when it comes. So if so, it's more value for you. And we're going to be diving in yet again to some really great stuff. And I promise that the people that have been in the course in the fall have had incredible transformation. They have incredible stories and testimonials that you'll be seeing. And maybe you've seen some or heard some on other podcasts that I've read before, but it's incredible. It's really an incredible thing where I just feel like so much of what I'm walking through in that course has just been downloaded to me, that I've just received these messages and just felt inspired to put this course together. So I would love to have you join me. Again, just reach out to me on Instagram. Okay, diving into today's episode. If you're a first-time listener, in the first season of the episode, we're walking through my journal from when I was 15 and pregnant. And we have gone through so much this far. If you have a desire to go back and listen chronologically with us, then that's great. And if you want to dive in today with where we're at, then feel free to. There's something that's important that you would need to know for this episode, and that is that my little girl that I became pregnant with at such a young age, that she passed away at 9.5 months old. And so that's what you would need to know diving into this episode. And then if you also are a regular listener of mine, there's some names that are said that you would know, that I'm sure that you'll remember. Some friends that kind of show up for my birthday. You know Laura, she has been in previous episodes, and I introduce you to a new friend in this episode. You know some of the family members that I talk about, Jesse's sister and brother-in-law, Gina and Paul. I also talk about Tanya and Derek, his other sister. So it's nothing that you really need to know too much about to dive in. So let's just jump in and get started. July 7th, 1995. Today was a pretty good day. After work, I went and worked out with Heather, then one of my very good friends, underlined good, in parentheses, who I feel very close to, Melissa, and I went to visit her stake president. She went because she's getting married in the temple on Monday, and I went to ask questions, and it was neat. He was so nice. I went in to talk to him about Taylor and how I could be sealed to her. We read through the manual, and he saw that I had to be married and have Jesse's consent, or I had to be married to Jessie. She has to be sealed to 2 parents. He was teary-eyed, and believe me, so was I. Then I told him in my patriarchal blessing, it says I'll be sealed to her, and he smiled big and told me that he was thankful for that. And when I'm ready, the time will come, and that the Lord always keeps his promises. It was a very special meeting. Taylor, when I'm ready, the Lord promised, I love you. July 19th, 1995. Hey, my birthday was pretty good. The night before, Laura took me out to dinner, and then Michelle sent balloons to me. Then I was planning to go to Ogden. I came home to grab a blanket, and my mom didn't even say happy birthday. Anyway, I went to Ogden by myself and stayed 4 days and 3 nights. Swam, hung out, shopped, etc. with Callie, Millie, Angela. We had a great time. But I feel sad for them because their lives are not getting anywhere or any better. I also talked to Jesse 3 different nights, and he agreed to the divorce still, and that we should still be really good friends. But yesterday, he disagreed. So this might be pretty hard to pull. Monday, when I came home, we had a birthday dinner and stuff, but I was very sad because my mom didn't give me any presents. I'm sad. And I know I'm a brat that expects everything, but I'm sad. When I was in Ogden, I did not get the chance to see Jane or Tanya and Derek and the boys. But we did talk, but I still felt bad. Gina is living in Magna, doing a flagging job, and Paul is in Milford, and Ashley is in Panaca with her dad. I can't believe Jesse wants to play this stupid game. Separate, miss each other, get back together, etc. Well, I'm pretty sick of it. And it's not happening anymore. I love you, Taylor. And your cousin Ashley colored a picture for me to put on your grave. XOXOXOXO, Mom. Okay, a couple of things to dive in and go over. In the first entry, that appointment just brought me so much reassurance. You know, I was meeting with the stake president, who would be like a bishop or a pastor or a preacher, you know, in other religions. And so I met with him and just kind of gained that reassurance that I had been given in my patriarchal blessing. And I know that if you've been listening, you know that this was such a huge part of my heart. My heart really desperately sought after that patriarchal blessing and also being sealed to Taylor. And then that meeting just like reaffirmed for me like that, you know, it would come in my future and I needed to be married, and now wasn't the time for that. And so it brought a lot of peace to my heart. Fast forward to where I'm at now, and like the experience of having been sealed to her is one of the most earth-shattering experiences of my life. And, you know, I know people listening to this podcast, everybody comes from different walks of life. Everybody comes from different religions. And I absolutely love and adore that. I love the way that learning about other religions enriches our own faith and our own belief. When I learn, one of my friends teaches me from the Talmud, you know, some principles or some of the sayings from that, or when I learn about the Course in Miracles, or when I learn about that, these are things that just enrich my faith, and I love it so much. And so as I've thought about, you know, including this in this podcast, I kind of have gone back and forth, you know, because this is honestly one of the most sacred experiences of my life. You know, fast forwarding in time and being sealed to her. But I also reflect on things that have been shared with me from other people and other, angles and other beliefs. And I love it so much. And I think there's only glory in us supporting and loving each other, in those areas. And I think it only brings us, closer together. And so I'll share just a few details, probably not everything in detail, but, it was a really cool experience fast forwarding in time from this entry when I was married to the person I'm married to now, whose name is Jake. I think you all know that. And we'd been married for a year. And I wanted to be sealed to Taylor very badly. And in my heart, I wanted it to be something that Jake initiated because I wanted to know that it was what he wanted, not that I was forcing it upon him. And so one day we were sitting in our temple and we were silently praying. And this had been something that was on my heart. And I had been kind of thinking, at our 1 year mark, it would be so cool to get, sealed to Taylor. And we were sitting side by side and I started to pray to Heavenly Father. And I just said, please, if it's time, then please, impress upon Jake's mind. And if it's a desire that he has, then please, Heavenly Father, help him to bring it up and to bring it forward so that I know that it's his desire. And it was, at the same time, Jake was praying right next to me. And when we were both done praying, he grabbed my hand and he looked at me and he said, Mish, he said, I think it's time to talk about being sealed to Taylor. And I was like so overwhelmed that it was in that very moment that I was pouring my heart out to God and asking, if it was the right time. And that if it was, to please impress upon his mind. And in that very moment, he turned to me and said that that's what he desired. That was the first of many of the miracles that led up to being sealed to her. Jake had his own experience where I don't even want to tell it because it's his, but he saw a vision of it happening before it happened. And that was really cool. And then the actual day when it happened, you go to the temple to be sealed together for time and eternity. And it's something that as you gain experiences in, we can say that we believe in. But after experiencing something on such a level that was so deep, so real to me because of the way that I felt inside my body when it happened, my mom was, she was there. She was actually sitting proxy for Taylor. And, that means that she was kind of standing for her in her place. And all of our family were surrounding us. And that experience was, when I say earth-shattering, it is earth-shattering because it's beyond this world. It's more than what I've ever experienced in this world. And it was so full of a feeling of undeniably real. And so full of love. And the way that my body felt inside is difficult for me to put even in words. I felt such peace, but I also felt so much activity in my body. An insane amount of activity, like movement. And the only thing that you could describe as chaos, but it wasn't chaos. It was complete peace. and love in reality. And so after that experience, I always say that it's difficult for me to say that I believe, because I know it feels bigger than belief when you experience something so real. Fast forward in time, it was such a beautiful experience. And I knew back then, as a much younger version of myself, that would feel so healing to my heart. And there is no doubt about that. And then in the next entry, there were a couple of things going on, going to Ogden and visiting friends and not seeing them progress, starting to become aware of that they felt stuck to me, and knowing and being aware that divorcing Jesse was going to be difficult. And the biggest thing that I really want to focus on, that I really debated if I should include, and then it came to me overwhelmingly that I needed to include it for a lot of reasons. And that is, the comments of my mom not saying happy birthday to me or not giving me any gifts. And trust me, my mom has a really soft heart, so I know she's probably listening and even crying. And so now I just have to break down why I know more than ever that I needed to include that. There's a lot of reasons. The first one is just around how self-absorbed we are, especially how self-absorbed I was when I was much younger. And, I think that's something that we all battle all the time, to remind ourselves that it's not all about us. I was just kind of scrolling through, I think, Instagram the other day, and I saw one of those wisdom messages that kind of said, I really wish that when I was 20 years old that someone could have told me that the world literally did not revolve around me. And I totally resonated with that. And I've been doing yoga since I was in my 20s. And I remember a time walking into the yoga room late. And you know how the yoga instructor can talk and teach a lesson to the room, but you also know that it's for you. And I remember her saying, remember that this isn't just your experience. You're not the only one in the room. And I just knew the way that she was speaking to me. After that, when I came into the yoga room, oh man, if I came in late, which I try to never do, but sometimes that happens, and I creep in and I try to not be noticed or seen or interrupt other people's state. And I really understand that it's not about me, right? And I think we become so single-sided, it's very difficult for us to see the whole picture. It's like the men who are all approaching the elephant and they're blind and they're all feeling around the elephant and they feel different things and they report and they say, I felt this, and the other person says, well, I felt something different, and you're all describing something, and they started to argue about it. And then they realized that they were all truly feeling the same thing. They just had to zoom out and see the whole picture. And sometimes I feel like that's how we can become. We can become so, our view it's really difficult to get out of our own way. It's really difficult to see things from a perspective beyond our own. I remember there was a time I did something called the Landmark Forum, and it's a really fantastic educational course about, being your best self kind of a thing. And I remember one of the exercises is they show you this video. It's like a black and white video of King Kong. And it's literally just to drive home a point, because it's a tiny little few minute video. And then at the end, the credits are really long. It's all the same name. So it would be like costume design by Joe Mason, lighting Joe Mason, script Joe Mason, directing Joe Mason, and all of the credits are the same person. And the whole exercise is to help you see that so many times we go through life with our hands. If you put your hands up right next to your eyeballs and you only see what's directly in front of you instead of like your peripheral vision, or even like far away from you, right? We only see like what's right up next to our nose sometimes. And that's kind of how I see this situation. And one of the reasons why I did want to bring it to light, why I did want to bring it about, because I look at myself, and very often when you have something go wrong between two people, okay, and this isn't something going wrong, but I'm just giving you an example. Sometimes we forget to look at how each person might be hurting or what each person might be going through. And I get a little bit, of emotion in my voice, because recently I learned how difficult this time was for my mom. Losing Taylor was really, really tough on her in a way that I thought I knew. But I didn't know even until now with this project, with this podcast, how deeply it hurt her. She's such a, compassionate, and she's the opposite of it needing to all be about her. And so we didn't know, right? We didn't know. And so I kind of look at that and I say, oh my word, she was going through so much. And, we were all going through a lot, but I think my mom had an interesting circumstance beyond what I was able to see, especially at the time. And so for my mom, who was the mom who made homemade Cabbage Patch dolls for Christmas and made sure that the, Halloween costume that I wanted, that was so beautiful, was brought to life with her hands. She's the mom who stayed up until 2 creating birthday cakes when she made sure that those birthday cakes were the theme of whatever it was that we wanted. She's the person who helped my dad see things clearly that he didn't always see. She's the one who, taught me compassion and how to care for my own sick children. She's the mom who brought all of the Christmases to life in a way that they felt completely magical. She told the heartwarming stories to teach us and expand our heart. She's the one who brought to our attention how much some of the girls that we babysat needed us because their dad was abusing them, and how to show up. How to show up on Christmas with everything their family needed. That's who my mom is. So it's interesting to me to see my mom not showing up, and for it to not be an alarm bell for me of what's going on for her. How is she feeling, or how is she hurting, and what kind of love does she need from me? And I think that I wanted to bring this to light, especially going into the holiday season, because a lot of moms have a lot on their plate. You know, I just watched this cute little Christmas video of this mom who, it just showed her in the background doing all the things, you know. It just showed her taking care of it all, clip after clip. And then right at the end, this little boy looks at her and just mouths the words, "Thanks, Mom." And I broke because I totally resonate as a mom now, right? Like, I have a memory of one of my boys when he was 3 years old, watching me just I was trying to make a really great breakfast for all of us. And it kind of seemed like, get this, get that. You sit down to stand up, that term, the term that we sit down to stand up as moms. And I would sit down at the table almost ready, and then someone needed something else. And and it was like, and finally when I sat down and we were about to pray, my 3-year-old turns to me. He's sitting right by me, and he puts his hand on my arm and he says, "You're a great mama." It's so beautiful. And you know, that's how moms are. I saw a little cartoon depiction. I love those little cartoon depictions of the women from like the 50s with their hair all perfect, you know, all like pinned up and beautiful, and they're in their dress because that's a normal day. Oh man, I'm glad I didn't live in those days of needing to wear a dress every day. But you know, this little cartoon depiction, she's holding this long list in her hand and a pen in the other hand. And she says, and it says, "What's on my to-do list today? Oh, right. Everything." And you know what? That's a mom, right? I saw another one that said, "To every mom who's ever fallen off the wagon, welcome to the club." Oh, it's just, I feel like we needed to bring this up for so many reasons, because we need to be able to give grace to the women in our lives, to everyone really in our lives, right? And to ourselves, and to also shed a little bit of light that when someone isn't showing up the way that they normally do, right? That's a sign or a signal. That's an SOS for us to reach out and to love them more, a little harder. You know, I wish I would have seen that then from my mom. And so with that said, I want to share a story called Invisible Mother. It all began to make sense. The blank stares, the lack of response, the way one of the kids will walk into the room while I'm on the phone and ask to be taken to the store. Inside, I'm thinking, can't you see I'm on the phone? Obviously not. No one can see if I'm on the phone or cooking or sweeping the floor or even standing on my head in the corner, because no one can see me at all. I'm invisible. The invisible mom. Some days I'm only a pair of hands, nothing more. Can you fix this? Can you tie that? Can you open this? Some days I'm not a pair of hands. I'm not even a human being. I'm a clock to ask what time is it. I'm a satellite guide to answer what number is the Disney Channel. I'm a car to order right around 5:30, please. I was certain that these were hands that once held books, and the eyes that studied history, and the mind that graduated summa cum laude, but now they had disappeared into the peanut butter, never to be seen again. She's going, she's gone. One night, a group of us were having dinner, celebrating the return of a friend from England. Janice had just gotten back from a fabulous trip, and she was going on about the hotel she stayed in. I was sitting there, looking around at all the others put together so well. It was hard not to compare and feel sorry for myself. I was feeling pretty pathetic when Janice turned to me with a beautifully wrapped package and said, I brought you this. It was a book on the great cathedrals of Europe. I wasn't exactly sure why she'd given it to me until I read her inscription. To Charlotte, with admiration from the greatness of what you're building when no one sees. In the days ahead, I would devour the book, and I would discover what would become, for me, 4 life-changing truths, after which I could pattern my work. No one can say who built the great cathedrals. We have no record of their names. These builders gave their whole lives for a work they would never see finished. They made great sacrifices and expected no credit. The passion of their building was fueled by their faith that the eyes of God saw everything. A legendary story in the book told of a rich man who came to visit the cathedral while it was being built, and he saw a workman carving a tiny bird on the inside of a beam. He was puzzled and asked the man, "Why are you spending so much time carving that bird into a beam that will be covered by the roof? No one will ever see it." And the workman replied, "Because God sees." I closed the book, feeling the missing piece fall into place. It was almost as if I heard God whispering to me, "I see you, Charlotte. I see the sacrifices you make every day, even when no one around you does. No act of kindness you've done, no sequin you've sewn on, no cupcake you've baked is too small for me to notice and smile over. You are building a great cathedral, but you can't see right now what it will become. At times, my invisibility feels like an affliction, but it is not a disease that is erasing my life. It is the cure for the disease of my own self-centeredness. It is the antidote to my strong, stubborn pride. I keep the right perspective when I see myself as a great builder, as one of the people who show up at a job that they will never see finished, to work on something that their name will never be on. The writer of the book went so far as to say that no cathedrals could ever be built in our lifetime because there are so few people willing to sacrifice to that degree. When I really think about it, I don't want my son to tell the friend he's bringing home from college for Thanksgiving, "My mom gets up at 4 a.m. in the morning and bakes homemade pies, and then she bastes the turkey for 3 hours and presses all the linens for the table." That would mean I'd built a shrine or a monument to myself. I just want him to want to come home. And then, if there's anything more to say to his friend, to add, "You're going to love it there." As mothers, we're building great cathedrals. We cannot be seen if we're doing it right. And one day, it is very possible that the world will marvel not only at what we have built, but at the beauty that has been added to the world by the sacrifices of invisible women. Great job, Mom. I hope you're thinking about your mom. I hope you are thinking about how much she has given to you. How many times she talked herself through, picked herself back up, right? And how much we need to just allow grace at times to ourselves and to each other. Moms, for a good season of their life, they truly turn away from their own desires, their own interests, to put their little ones first, their family first. I love the quote that says, "The love of a mother is primal. When faced with grave danger, she will stop at nothing and spare no one who threatens the lives of her children." And I love this quote by Washington Irving. "A mother is the truest friend we have. when trials, heavy and sudden, fall upon us, when adversity takes the place of prosperity, when friends who rejoice with us in our sunshine desert us, when troubles thicken around us, still will she cling to us and endeavor by her kind precepts and counsels to dissipate the clouds of darkness and cause peace to return to our hearts. That is what I know of a mother. And I'm so grateful for my own mom and how incredibly beautiful it is that moms are such a great example and possibly the greatest example of love in our lives, of truly sacrificing and standing up for her people. My mom was the one who was there the moment that, my C-section opened and there was blood everywhere, telling me, honey, it's going to be fine. And that's what you want on your side. So remind yourself for a moment of the power between a mother and a child. Think of your own mother and reassure yourself that the job you are doing matters, that the job you are doing and the time that you put in truly does matter. And whether or not someone sees you, you're a great mama. Oh. I think when we are able to zoom out and see the whole picture, we're able to see how much power comes with motherhood. And I hope you see that today in your motherhood, you have more power than you think you do. I think it's really interesting that I recorded this episode on the heels of being sick. I've put in a lot of hard work and effort this fall into doing my coaching course and my program for the first time. And then also the podcast and everything that I'm trying to manage. And as soon as my body just was able to take a little rest for the holiday, I just fell sick. And, I couldn't get over how ironic it was that the episode Up and Coming was for all of us to give ourselves a little bit more grace. Just to give ourselves a little more grace. And so I really wanted to just reemphasize that as we're going into the holiday season, and to remind you to do what you can, but then to be able to stand back and just to allow yourself to say, maybe there's something bigger that's supposed to happen. Maybe there's a way that my heart is supposed to be softened, or maybe there's a way that something that I'm supposed to see that I wouldn't be able to see if I was in, that go state. So I just wanted to give that as a reminder as we go into this season. Also, I wanted to remind you to please make sure that you rate and review the podcast. I so appreciate that. And one more thing, if you want to support this podcast and moving forward, and you're on Amazon anyway, buying all of the things that you need for the upcoming season, then if you could just do it through my link, then I'll get a kickback. When you shop, instead of typing in Amazon.com, it's as easy and as simple as typing in Amazon.com/shop/my friend Misha. And it's Amazon just the exact same way that you know it. The price is the same. They just give me a commission for your using my affiliate link. And so it helps the podcast grow, which is so much of what we're doing. I can't wait to keep telling you all of the things that are happening behind the scenes in the growing of my friend Misha and the Power Up course and all of the things. A reminder that if you want to take advantage of that Black Friday discount and sell for the Power Up course, then just DM me on Instagram at my friend Misha, that's MESHA, and I'll make sure that you have the link. Thank you so much for indulging me today with my emotions and being a little bit tender in my heart after being sick. And just a little reminder for you to Tell yourself at the end of every single day this holiday season that so often the work that you do might not be recognized in the season that you're doing it, but that it does matter and you're a great mama. Until next time, my friend.